Okay, but we want to go ahead, everyone. We want to welcome Mr. Tony Goins. You have this bio information on your desk, on your table. So we're not going to take up all the time sharing that, but we'll be sharing with you. All right. Okay, y'all ready over here? Everyone ready? If we're ready, say yes. Yes. All right, so if you can hear my voice, that means you'll be able to hear Mr. Tony Goins, okay? The distinguished, the gentleman, Mr. Tony, the high standard, the man that carries himself like a man, that dresses like a man, smells like a man, right? The husband of one wife, father of his children, raised them in one house. Those are the type of men we look up to. Okay? We don't care if they can dribble a ball or rap. Right? You understand? All right. That's who's here tonight. Someone that's worth looking up to and marveling in your life. I want to welcome Mr. Tony Goins. Tony, can you hear us?
I can't. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir. You're talking, I'm gonna make it louder.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, Joel, first of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity. Listen, you said some really nice things about me. And at the end of the day, man, I'm just a servant of God, and I get up every day and just do my job. And I think when you commit yourself to something and you keep him first and you do your job, then really things fall in line. So I'm not going to be before you all long. I will share some things with you that I think are really important when it comes to gaining a higher level of influence. I don't like to use the word success because I think that somewhat says that you've made it. And this is just my own personal philosophy. I don't feel like I'm successful. I feel like I get up every day and I work hard to get the job done, and that I ask God to allow and guide my thoughts and my mindset. And I put a level of execution that is pretty maniacal. So, at the end of the day, I know you have my bios, but I'm just gonna insert some pieces to my story that I think are relevant as I move into what I call my 5 Tonyisms. And these are 5 items that I think are relevant as you grow and gain a higher level of influence. I was a youngster there in Greensboro, North Carolina. I served in the United States Marine Corps. I went to Dudley Senior High School. And when I went to the Marine Corps, my job in the Marine Corps, I was a machine gunner. The life expectancy of a machine gunner in the United States Marine Corps is 3 seconds in a time of war. So I joined the Marine Corps in 1982. And that was really a defining moment for me in my life, because at the end of the day, it put me in some very difficult scenarios, but you learn from those difficult scenarios. And when it's life and death, you learn even faster, because at the end of the day, I wanted to live. I'm also a teenage parent. My daughter was born when I was a junior in high school. And so I came with this stigma about teenage parents, but I'm proud to say that my daughter, who was born when I was a teenager, she's now a mom. She's a Christian. She's married. She has 4 kids. And next month, she'll be Dr. Goins Brockman, because she's continued her education and really made her dad super, super, super proud. So don't worry about, part of my lesson is don't worry about the statistics, okay? You can redefine the statistics if you put your mind to it. As a teenage dad, I was determined to make sure that this kid had educational opportunities and opportunities to become a successful adult. And she's done that. And I'm really proud of her. So I am an Aggie. I walked that campus back in the 90s, and I do wear our blue and gold very proud. And I've spent a significant number of years in corporate America. I had a global job with JP Chase, where I had teams in Manila, Cebu, which is in the Philippines, India. At one point, I had close to 6,000 employees that were a part of my responsibility. When I moved here to Nebraska, I was recruited to run a large bank. This bank was in significant trouble. I came here and recruited some other folks from JP Chase, and we were able to turn that bank around. And we sold that bank to Capital One for $6.5 billion. Not long after we sold that bank to Capital One, Governor Ricketts, who is the governor of our state, the Ricketts family, they also own TD. The father founded TD Ameritrade, and they own the Chicago Cubs. He's our governor. He asked me if I would come and lead the economy for the state of Nebraska. Now, Joel, I don't know whether I should talk about this or not, but I've been enjoying cigars for over 30 years. I'm not telling you to smoke cigars, but I am saying that cigars is a part of my lifestyle, is my culture, and it's been a passion. So I opened, my partner and I opened a cigar lounge in the city of Lincoln. And it's really a place for people to come enjoy camaraderie, enjoy a nice cocktail or a bourbon or a scotch. But what it really does is it slows people down and allows you to have conversation. In this age of social media, people don't talk anymore. And when you don't talk, you find that you don't have the opportunity to really share commonality and create trust and create opportunities for you to grow relationships. And so that's been a very profitable business for me. And we're about to open our second location in Omaha, Nebraska. And it kind of fits in with what I do politically, because I have politicians and business leaders that come to my space. And when you look at policy and when things need to get done between Democrats and Republicans, they kind of grandstand when they're out on the legislative floor, but I can get them in my lounge and they can sit down and work things out. And that's worked very well for the Black community here in my state. So let me move to my 5 Tonyisms. So Tonyism number 1 really centers around preparation. And I want to spend a few minutes unpacking preparation, because I think what I call these Instagram and social media success pictures have created this illusion around hard work and creating greater levels of influence. Greater levels of influence and success, if I may use that word, it's not like hot chocolate. Like, you can't pour it in a cup and pour water in and stir it up and all of a sudden it happens. But social media will make you believe that is the case just because all of a sudden they got all these followers. Preparation. What I always say is you got to be maniacal about preparation. It starts with your mindset. Do you have a mindset that says, at the end of the day, I've identified what I want to do to grow my success or grow influence. And then once I get that mindset, then have I put in place a process in order to get this? So what does that mean? That means your education. Your education is paramount, but it's not just about the 4-year degree that you're going to get from A&T. What I say is you have to be a lifelong student. That means every day you got to put in place some level of a study regimen that allows you to be a lifelong student. I'll share certain parts of my story around preparation, and I want to make sure that I tell you that I share parts of my story for no glorification. Because again, I want to make it clear that I get up every day and I have to work hard every day. No glorification, but I share my story with the hopes that you can take parts of my story and incorporate it into your portfolio and use it to make sure that you are better than I am when you become 58, 59 years old. Because I don't like to say I'm old, but I will say that I've got a lot of life, and that life is full of mistakes, but it's also full of some victories too. So lifelong. I digest the Wall Street Journal. I get up every morning at 4:30 a.m. You can't sleep until 9, 10 a.m. and think that this thing is going to work for you. I'm up every morning at 4:30, sometimes at 4:15. After I meditate and read my Bible and go work out, then I'm digesting information at a high level to allow me to operate at a high level. I run an economy that's about $157 billion. When you look at the GDP, we have over 2 million people in the state, and I'm accountable for jobs creation and all. And so I have to prepare myself in the morning through the education of the information that I'm digesting so that I'm prepared to be able to compete and talk with presidents and CEOs and be able to use that in order to do my job. So education is not just your 4 years. If you're in business, you better have a subscription to the Wall Street Journal. I think that's just table stakes. If you don't have a subscription to the Wall Street Journal, then you talk to Joel and he'll help you get a subscription to the Wall Street Journal, because you can't be in business and not read the Wall Street Journal, the Harvard Business Review, all types of periodicals that help me be able to be prepared. At the end of the day, you got to monetize this education, because some of you may have taken student loans, some of you may be on scholarship, but you got to understand what is going to be the return on that degree. So how do you start focusing your efforts on what is necessary in order to be able to position yourself in the work world? The education is just a process to get you to an end game. The end game is, what are you going to do to be self-sustaining, to get off your parents' payroll, and to be able to start putting yourself in a position so that you are you are impacting society, and you are making your own paycheck. I mean, that's the end game. The education is the process to get you there. Depending upon what you're doing, you got to understand your industry. If you're going into financial services, if you're going into engineering, read what these folks are reading. Study what engineers are reading. Study what bankers are reading. Make sure that you are really clear on understanding your industry. And I use the word maniacal because that means you got to be just that focused in order to create, if you want to play on a high level. So you got to ask yourself, do you want to be mediocre or do you want to play on a high level? I'm asking that question now. How many of you want to play on a high level? Raise your hand if you want to play on a high level. Well, then you're going to be willing to do everything that I'm talking about right now. Become an expert at your industry, understand your market, understand the economic impact. Make sure that you study and you do all those things. Number two is your personal appearance. Now, you know, I've got 4 kids and 6 grandkids. I got a 20-year-old grandson. My granddaughter is 18 and she's a freshman at UNL, University of Nebraska, Lincoln. And my grandson and I always talk. I said, son, listen, you're my grandson. You're not going to leave this house with this thing that you sleep in, this do-rag type deal. Now, you know, he's got his little dreads, but I said, you know, I had to accept that. But I said, you're going to clip them things up and they're going to look nice. And when your grandfather gets ready to go somewhere, you're going to wear a suit. You're going to understand wearing a suit and tie. Because at the end of the day, people always say you should never judge a book by its cover. Let me tell you, the book will always be judged by its cover. Right or wrong. Your book will always be. So I tell them, I said, listen, you represent no Goins. So when you step out of this house, you need to look like somebody. You need to make sure. He came to my house one day and Joel, his pants were 1/4 inch down where they were supposed to be. Me and that young man almost had a tussle. I'm telling you. And he, you know, you have to take into consideration your personal appearance. That's all a part of preparation, and it's all extremely important. Prepare yourself to lead. You don't have to be a follower. You prepare yourself to lead. Work on improving your people skills, because at the end of the day, leadership is about influence. You can't force someone to do it, but you have to influence people. So work on your leadership skills. Understand the power of negotiations. You don't have to draw a line. Almost everything is a negotiation. It just depends upon the way you use your words and your understanding of how to compromise. All of that is a part of preparation. Lead people. Learn how to lead. Understand that no matter what you do, culture matters. Culture matters. The chemistry, what you create when you're around people. Do people want to be around you? Is your personality and who you are, is it contagious from a positive standpoint, or is it contagious from a negative standpoint? All of that centers around preparation. Preparation is the largest driver to improving your confidence, and is also the most powerful risk mitigation technique, because when you are prepared and you're confident, then you put yourself in a position to create the highest probability for success. Is that clear to everybody?
Yes.
That's Tonyism number 1. Tonyism number 2, don't be afraid to take tough assignments. Don't be afraid to do something that is going to be really, really tough. Because if you prepare, then you're prepared to take a tough assignment. You know, brand yourself and work hard. Because let me tell you something. When you take a tough assignment, or when you go through something that is very challenging and you get through it, then you learn a skill. That skill is called problem solving. So many young folks today don't understand, and I'm guilty. You know, my grandson come to me, Papa, how do you do this? And, you know, I said, yeah, I'm solving this dude's problems. And now, you know, I say, listen, man, I've given you the tools. You got to solve your own problem. You got to work this thing out yourself. Understand the importance of working to solve complex problems. Because what I would tell you is people will pay you a lot of money to solve problems. They will pay you a lot of money to solve problems, especially when you're playing at a high level. So understand the techniques and the methodologies that are used to solve very complex problems, but also make sure as you solve problems that you got to be driven by a value system, because you don't solve problems and fix things and not have a value system in place. You don't break the law. You don't compromise integrity. You don't compromise honesty, but understand how to solve. Because if you understand how to solve a problem, then you become known as a fixer. Most of the big assignments where I was paid a lot of money was because I was recruited because there was a significant issue and somebody needed a problem solved, and Tony Goins' name came up. And I became known as a fixer. I became known as, here's the guy that's going to execute. I became known as, here's the guy that's going to deliver results. He's going to get it done. And he's going to get it done because he's going to bring people along with him. And when he gets it done, he'll give his people the credit. So that's Tonyism number 2. Everybody follow me on that. Don't be afraid of tough assignments. Become known as a fixer. Understand how to execute. Talk is cheap. Somebody gives you a job assignment to do, just deliver. Just deliver. You got to deliver. Tonyism number 3, build relationships. It's just like you're doing right now. Build relationships. Almost every hashtag I have really centers around relationships matter. But you build relationships with no intention on getting a return on that relationship. Because if you expect something back, that's not a relationship, that's a transaction. A relationship is that you genuinely care about someone, you care about the person you're talking with, you spend time with them. Joel and I have a relationship. This brother, I love that guy like you would not believe. We have a relationship. If he calls and asks me to do something, I'm going to do anything possible to get it done for him. And I don't expect anything in return. But what I know is that relationships, when you don't expect something in return and you do things for people without expecting anything in return, and you do things for people that don't have the ability to do something for you, 100% of the time, God will bless you on the back end. I am 100% a living witness. You're all in your 20s. I'm 58 years old. What I would tell you is that's an irrefutable statement. Joel, I could talk from here to tomorrow about how that has worked in my life. So number 3, you got to build relationships. Move into circles where people are smarter than you. And there are ways to get into those circles. There are ways to get into those circles. If you're humble, if you're prepared, if you've taken tough assignments and you've started, then people want to, you will gravitate towards people. But you want to build relationships with people that are really smarter than you and people that are in positions, because all of a sudden they become your sponsor. All of a sudden they become your advocate. And that is a part of what is going to be necessary. And they become your mentors to help you move. I have a sign in my lounge. It says, sit with winners. The conversation is different. That sign is in my business. Sit with winners. The conversation is different. And that's a very true statement. Once I started to elevate my game and I started to sit with people that had higher levels of influence and God's grace, I started to participate with flying on private jets and being with people who had made, then all of a sudden it helped me elevate my game. You sit with winners, the conversation really is different. And so build those kind of relationships and move into those circles. That's number 3. Tonyism number 4, service to your community. Service to your community. It is super important to give back. And again, I say with no expected return. You have to be able to reach back and help someone else who is in need. And that could be through some level of sponsorship, mentorship, advocacy. Public service is really important. It's really important that you volunteer and you give your time and you do what's necessary to help others. I'll say this, and I say this with all sincerity. If you a Black man in the room, then you need to advocate for your Black women, because Black women, but we all have it tough. But let me tell you something, and this is what I found throughout my career. If you're a Black man and you're in a white business world, most of the time, white men are in positions of influence. The Black man will have one thing in common with the white man, that is that you are a male. So there's some level of commonality because you share a gender. But the Black woman doesn't have that gender commonality, and she has, and she's Black. So I've seen that dynamic in corporate America. And so what I always say to my brothers, support each other, but make sure you support your Black women. That's really, really, really important as you start thinking about service to the community and what you're doing. That's Tonyism number 4. And the last one, Tonyism number 5. And it's just, you just got to be optimistic. Let me tell you something. You live long enough, you're going to get hit in the mouth. Mike Tyson used to always say, everybody's got a plan till they get hit in the mouth. You will get hit in the mouth. And it is going to be tough. And everything is not going to be fair. I'm telling you now. You're going to say this discrimination. You can't go filing lawsuits every time something's not fair, and you can't go marching every time something's not fair. I'm not saying don't march, but I'm saying every time something's not fair, that's not going to be the response to the answer. You got to figure out ways in order to get through it. And one of the things you got to do is you got to always be optimistic. You got to live with an attitude of gratitude. Every day you wake up and God gives you the opportunity to put your feet on the ground and put breath in your body. I don't care what situation or scenario you are in. That means you still have a chance. And if you got a chance, you got the right attitude, right mindset, preparation, all the other things I'm talking about, then you got a chance to come up. You got a chance to come out. There's a guy named Admiral Stockdale. There's a term called the Stockdale paradox. And Admiral Stockdale was a prisoner of war in Vietnam. And what Admiral Stockdale said is that you have to recognize the brutal reality of your current situation while maintaining an insane amount of optimism. In the church, they call it faith. And then you got to take action. So those are the 5 Tonyisms. Let me close by saying this. Leadership really does matter. Leadership matters. And to be a good leader, you do have to understand how to be a good follower, but you want to follow people that are going in the right direction. You don't want to follow people that are going in, but leadership matters. To whom much is given, much shall be required. Kindness really does matter. You can be tough and you can still be kind. You can treat people with care and concern. And that's really synonymous with strength. And when you do something wrong, don't be afraid to apologize. Don't draw a line in the sand. Don't be afraid to apologize. Economics matters. Economics matters. Financial literacy matters. You need to understand how to generate revenue. You need to understand how to read financials. You need to know what a cash flow statement is, a balance sheet, and a P&L. You need to understand how to make money, how to keep your money, how to grow money. You want to be able to do more than just live paycheck to paycheck and just be able to pay your bills. You want to be able to go on vacations when you want to go on vacations. You want to be able to give back financially through philanthropy. It's a really gratifying feeling. You know, I don't do this very often. My daughter's so funny. You know, when you get to a certain level and you still have to do all these things. But, you know, my daughter says, I said, Tony, her name is Tony with an I. I told you she's about to be Dr. Goins Brockman. And I said, yeah, Tony. I said, man, I think I'm going to Boston on Friday. I'm going to Boston to see your brother. She says, you know, because her brother just had another baby. So it's 3 Anthony's now. It's Anthony Goins the first. I'm the first. And then my son is Anthony the second. And I got another little grandson, Anthony the third. He's 3 months old. So I said, yeah, I'm going to see I call him A3. I'm going to see A3. She said, when? I said, I'm going Friday. She said, Dad, today is Wednesday. She said, you be jumping on flights like Uber. I said, listen, your daddy get ready to go somewhere. I'm going somewhere. And I can do that because economics to me matters. So economics matter. I'm going to tell you, money is not the root of happiness. However, when you have it, it sure makes things a lot easier. So it's important for you to be educated, but I know a whole lot of educated broke people. Yeah, I don't want you all to be in that category. Lastly, know that you matter. You matter individually. You are uniquely formed for a purpose. Each one of you as young people, you need to find that purpose and live it to the fullest. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't make it, because you're a part of the greatest institution on planet Earth, and that's North Carolina A&T State University, Aggie Pride for Life. Thank you.
Tony, we thank you. We know your time is valuable and we were running a little late. And so again, thank you for being you, being an example to all of us of what it means to be committed to every day being a success. Day by
Absolutely.
Day, and for overcoming. Thank you for your story too, my friend.
Absolutely. Enjoy. Give everybody my contact information. You know, I had 5 Aggies here that did internships in Nebraska. So you give all those kids my contact information. If they need me, I'll make myself available.
Having it's done.
Okay.
What do we say?
Thank you all.
Thank you, buddy. God bless you, man. We'll
Okay.
talk soon.
All right. God bless you all.